This is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'm going to be taking a look at a round 4 upset where our current world champion Viswanathan Anand of India lost against the American chess champ Hikaru Nakamura. So Nakamura's been a little bit down on his luck lately, coming in dead last 2 weeks ago at the 2011 Tao Memorial, and Anand he drew all 9 of his games at that Tao Memorial tournament in Moscow, and I think coming into this game, he had something like 13 or 14 draws in a row. So Anand really holding it down for the chess crown, and Nakamura is just trying to fight. You know, everybody says he's been, well, it's not everybody says, Nakamura and Kasparov has they've confirmed they've been working together. So the expectations for Nakamura and the stakes have gotten even higher. So working with Kasparov, I'm sure Nakamura is hoping this will push him, you know, to the next, you know, top 5 in the world, where he's really pretty close right now. So opening up, this is the King's Indian defense. A lot of very strong players have played this. Let's say Bobby Fischer and Gary Kasparov, to name a few. And this Bishop E2 line, this is pretty much the main line, where we can see White is got a little bit more space in the center. You know, he's got these big pawns here, specifically on the light squares. And Black with moves like E5, very thematic break, is going to be trying to put pressure on White's center. White goes ahead and castles, very flexible, and Knight C6 now, and so D5. Okay, so Black is giving White a little space here, I guess, and a move, but Black is rerouting the pieces towards the king side for an attack. So B4, I believe this is like the Taimanov or the bayonet variation here. And B4 is just an all-around dicey move. I mean, A4 and maybe, I don't know, there's some ideas of like Bishop A3 where you can even like take this and reroute the knight towards playing and on the queen side and opening up the queen side. So the downside with a move like A5, for example, is that Black doesn't want to make moves on the queen side. He wants to focus on the king side attack, because when your opponent's, you know, in such a clear-cut opening like this, the King's Indian defense, White in almost every line, you know, especially this line, is playing to open up an attack on the queen side. So that's where he's going to put his pieces, and that's where he's playing. Black is playing for the king side attack. So Black doesn't want to waste time with moves like A5, where he's just opening up the queen side himself, where obviously he has no pieces, and just the inherent structure, you know, positionally, is bad for Black to play over there. So, okay, so Knight E8 may look like a weird move. What is Nakamura doing with these knights? Well, he's just trying to open up and start gaining some space on the king side before White's threats become too serious on the queen side. So C5, and this was pretty cool to see Anand playing a sharp variation like this. Now F5. And, okay, so Knight D2, Knight F6, these are very standard ideas. Now with A4, I mean, it's extremely clear-cut. It took Black a little bit of time to get his attack off the ground, but, you know, it could be dangerous. That's how the King's Indian works. So here, Nakamura, attentively, you know, the Knight on D2, he plays G5. So anybody that plays a King's Indian defense out there should make a note of that. After Knight D2, maybe you can just weasel in G5 really quick without wasting time on H6 to prep it. So now after Knight C4, I was watching this game, and I was stunned when Nakamura played H6. It was a very weird move, because I thought the whole idea with playing G5 is to follow it up with F4, and now you can play H7 to H5 in one move. So Black's pawn storm is cruising. Instead, Nakamura played H6, and this just confused the heck out of me, because I'm sitting here, you know, why would you play H6? I mean, I understand, you know, it's not as committal, you could say, on the light squares, but, you know, I don't know, F4 I just feel like is more in the mood of the opening, more in the spirit. So F3 by Anand, kind of shoring up his defense, and now F4. So if you're going to play H6, why play F4? So we're going to see how this loss of tempo, you know, while the position is closed, you might be thinking, oh, come on, it's just one move. But, you know, it's never just a move. So Knight G6, very standard attacking structure. After B5, you know, let's go back. I went through that a little quick. So B5 here by White. And White's plan is very simple. He wants to just, break through on the queen side however he can get it. So here Nakamura, he's kind of got to defend the d6 pawn, right? And he just brought the knight up, so he obviously doesn't want to move that back. And that's just really a little bit too slow. So in many lines, let's say if h6 hadn't been played earlier, black would be a tempo ahead here, and he would have already played rook f7. So in this position, he could play bishop f8, which would be defending the pawn. So we're going to see something like that happen later. I'm just trying to point things out in the King's Indian. So Nakamura takes, and now the bishop takes, and now rook f7. So the rook didn't just, this is a very common attacking theme in the King's Indian, trying to transfer the rook over here. So a5, and I was like, okay, Anand, he's trying to break this crazy draw streak and have at least, some kind of decisive game. Now h5. So Nakamura really playing weird. I wasn't happy with this play in the opening, and I'm sure he's not as well, because h6 was just too strange. So now continuing on here, after h5, and now b6. So b6, very thematic. I mean, a6 would just throw away white's advantage kind of on the queen side, because first of all, I mean, just b6, right? And now the position is all closed up again. You're going to have to like reroute the knight to c6. It's going to take forever. So it's not what you want here. Notice, I mean, white has every single piece just about. He's got a lot of pieces on the queen side. Plus, he's been pushing these pawns up one by one here. It's been taking a lot of time. So what he needs is to open the position up, and the best way to do it is with a move like b6. So now, black has got to make some decisions. White is going to get a passed pawn here, no doubt, on the queen side. So, okay, so g4, and Nakamura is just pushing ahead. I mean, this is how it's got to happen. I mean, black doesn't want to use moves to defend on the queen side. He wants to keep pushing. So knight b5 here, just, Anand is like looking like a good player all of a sudden, like good aggressive player. He's got a lot of great coordination here. All of these dark squares are just being hit up, in some way or another. White is hitting all those dark squares. But Nakamura, the guy's a fighter. He's had his back against the wall before. So here he plays g3. And, it's important to note, maybe this doesn't really do a lot in this position. And so maybe that's why he didn't want to play it. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different, this is extremely complicated. But anyway, a6, you can at least say the rook is hitting Nakamura's rook here. So Nakamura g3 in the spirit of the King's Indian. And so now king h1 was like a weird move by Anand. I thought at least, I don't know, knight c7, I mean, made a lot of sense to put some pressure on this rook. Any number of moves, like knight here, followed by takes, and knight to b6, just keeping the position open. But instead, Anand, king h1, okay, it's a little bit careful, but, trying to make it so it's not check. But, like, why move the king? Because if you're going to move it to h1 after check, why not make black play the check, play the move? So now Nakamura, he plays bishop f8, and now he's starting to defend a little bit. Bishop f8 is defending a little bit, trying to reduce some pressure on the dark squares in the center, and subsequently the queen side. And also, this could be a kind of attacking move, this bishop f8. It's very similar. You see this maneuver a lot in the King's Indian when black is attacking, and he's just trying to clear up the 7th rank to bring some heavy pieces and start putting some more pressure on white's king. So here d6, and this is when I'm like, what's going on, d6? Because you're not keeping the position open with d6, and Anand's plan is very slow, trying to maneuver this and bring the bishop in the attack. And black's attack here is actually starting to get kind of dangerous. So d6, kind of the last move I would want to make as white here. I don't know. I mean, at least like just take this, try to play knight b6 or something like, take it, knight c7 takes. I don't know. I mean, black's got some exchange attacks there. I don't want to get too crazy analyzing this. It's a big mess. But just on principle, I don't like d6 because, again, this is closing down the center. White wants that open. So, okay, so a6 now. Nakamura said, okay, I'll bite the bullet. I'll spend a move playing rook to b8 here just to keep the queen side closed. More than anything, not so much the material, but to keep it closed. Now knight a5, and we can see, I mean, these are beautiful knights. A lot of great coordination and pressure here. The bishop is, coming to a very nice diagonal. So, okay, king h8 by Nakamura, prophylactic move. Also was possible to play rook over, but okay, I mean, king h8, same difference. So bishop c4, rook g7, and now knight e6. This bishop hadn't moved, and it does, the light squared bishop a lot of times in this King's Indian will be sacrificed. Let's say white, this pawn on h3, for example, and a lot of times like it'll just get sacked to open up the defenses. But so okay, it does from that standpoint make sense, because now it's going to be a lot more difficult for white or for black to break through. But now he just takes, so now h3 is not possible. And okay, but the two bishops, I mean, Anand is still kind of all over black here, but it's, black's this attack here is like, it picks up so fast, and Nakamura is such a resourceful player. So okay, queen e8, it starts. The queen is getting ready to jump over here. Now h4 is getting ready, trying to just pry open the g file and make some more threats. So rook f2, because it's imperative to open this with a pawn, because if not, it's going to be very easy for white with this open second rank to defend g2 laterally. So okay, so h4, rook f2, very, very nice, standard stuff. Now h3, just giving the pawn back to open the g file, and rook c8, very nice. So Nakamura is slowly breaking out of this this bind that white had, and starting to make threats for white to defend. So I think material is equal here, but I mean, material is not the point. This is such a double-edged game. So knight to h4, and now we see Nakamura's attacking idea. So king takes. Well, first of all, I mean, a knight h4 threatens rook g1. So okay, so king takes, and now knight d7. So Nakamura is putting pressure on this bishop, and he's got the pawn stopped. So now the queen's coming over, and we're going to see some very nasty threats on the g and also the h file. So bishop b4, trying to hold on here, maybe reroute the bishop to counterattack. But black's attack very fast. He jams the rook in first, puts some pressure. Now white has got to make some defensive moves, and that's never fun. So now queen h5, and we're seeing black's idea. Pressure on the f3 and h3 points, as well as just the g file in general. So rook a3, a nice defensive concept by Anand. And you got a note here, Nakamura, if we want to go back a couple moves, look at his time. On this move, after 34 king h2, he took 10 minutes. Nakamura is one of the best blitz and bullet players in the world. Takes 10 minutes on knight d7. It's a very risky move, because now the bishop is threatening to come in. A lot of calculations going on. Very cool how Nakamura saved this with no time on the clock. 2 minutes to make 5 very good moves. So he starts rook g3, queen f1, queen h5, now rook a3. Seems like white's defended everything, and maybe he's just going to like reroute the bishop and whatever, maybe take on b7. Now Nakamura, he starts with a5, which was a good idea to confuse white and try to break up some of his coordination. First, to get this bishop off the pawn. Second of all, if the knight takes, the knight's getting away from the center as well, and this would open up the c file for black's rook to get in. So here, Anand goes, bishop e1 was cool. You want to kick this rook away. Now Nakamura sacks the exchange here, so you got to go big or go home. Bishop takes is kind of forced. You can't leave. The queen doesn't want to get away from the king side. Also, now this, the b7 pawn is not in pre right now. And now bishop takes d6. So that was the exchange sack to get that annoying pawn out. And now this bishop used to be trapped behind all its own pawns, and now it's going to see a very nice diagonal and attacking ideas on this g1 to a7 diagonal. So now rook takes a5. And when I saw this, I was trying to work today, but I just couldn't stop looking at this game. I was like, is Nakamura going to pull it off? So now I'm looking at it here, and I'm thinking, all right, how does Nakamura break through? I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. I'm thinking rook d3. The rook is defending. The rook is putting pressure. And maybe this rook can double, if f3 is still defended. And I don't know. I think I'm not going to say anything definitive after like bishop c5 still. But this is I don't know. This is like too crazy. I didn't want to look at it with a computer. So anyway, rook d3, just principle, it makes sense to me. But Anand played rook takes a5. And this didn't make sense to me because, I mean, why? The a5 pawn's not going anywhere. That is like a dead pawn just waiting to be captured. Completely irrelevant to the position. Now, I understand it does open up the rook on the a file, but this is just a check. The king's going to step. It's going to be no problem. So I know Anand, was trying to probably move fast still, put Nakamura in time pressure with 2 minutes left on the last move. But rook a5, just in principle, it makes no sense. Now the rook is trapped. It can't come back to a3 and help the defense. So bishop c5, and I don't know. I think maybe here it's kind of too late for white. Now that the bishop is a monster, even sacking this, black's position is just so good, and black can think about sacking now on e4. I mean, all kinds of sacks on f3. Who knows? So, I don't know. I think Anand rook takes a5 kind of gave it away. Bishop e2, it seems like maybe he's going to get out. Nakamura snatches the pawn first, playing it safe. And so now the bishop is a monster on d4. Bishop d1, Anand's trying to get his queen active. But it's just kind of too late. So bishop takes f2. I suppose bishop d4. I think both players are moving kind of fast here, even though they made the time control. And maybe bishop takes b6 also. It would have been more accurate just to... Anyway, I mean, a practical game. They just made the time control. They're still moving fast. Whatever. So bishop takes f2 here. Bishop takes. And now Nakamura just with a simple... it's very uncharacteristic of Anand. If we go back a couple moves, in this position, he was still moving fast. Now, Nakamura had just been super low on time, but Anand was trying to flag him and made some substandard moves. So, you can't win with scared money. I understand what Anand was trying to do. But in practice, just because your opponent has a little, 2 minutes, you don't want to start moving fast and make bad moves to try to flag him because you're not taking advantage of your time then. It's like you're nullifying your time advantage. So, okay, so Nakamura, in this position, he cashes in the attack, takes on f3 with the queen, maintaining the pin here, just keeping it simple, and in this position, white is just lost. He's down material. He's still got to deal with this nasty attack that black is forcing on him, and he tries a couple of checks here. Also, it should be noted, if white made some weird move in this kind of position, let's say rook b4, I don't know. Nakamura was actually trying to set him up with knight g4, rook h6, and that's going to be a game there. So Nakamura was trying to set him up. Or, the king moves. Let's say this probably ends up in mate as well with like rook g2. So after the game continuation here, so rook takes b7. Now king up, check, king h6. I think Anand thought for a couple minutes and resigned because he's going to lose the e4 pawn, and if black doesn't win with a crushing attack here, he's going to win an easy endgame just marching those pawns down the board. So what a cool game by Nakamura. This, even though he messed up in the opening a little bit with h6 and the subsequent stuff, gotta love, the kid's got heart. He's fighting to the end, and he's not, hanging his head or getting down on himself, when everything's not going in his way. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.